Let's once again turn our attention to Afghanistan, which has been marred with isolated attacks taking place across the length and breadth of the country, particularly after the Taliban stormed to power in August last year. Since then, desperate militia groups, in their bid to exert their dominance, have launched several attacks. In the latest, a suicide blast rocked the Kabul International Cricket Stadium during a cricket match. Multiple casualties were reported from the stadium. Take a look.
8 months after the United States withdrawal allowed the Taliban to regain control, violence in Afghanistan is escalating, raising fears that it could once more serve as a hotspot for unrest and terrorism in South and Central Asia and beyond. Terrorists with intentions of waging a global jihad have long used Afghanistan as a base. Numerous organizations that have existed since the Taliban's last period of rule from 1996 to 2001 are once more operational and looking for ways to increase their influence. However, the de facto rulers of the war-torn country do not seem to be concerned, as they are desperate to get recognition. Recently, an explosion went off and killed 2 spectators in Kabul International Cricket Stadium during a T20 domestic league game between Bande-Amir Dragons and Pamir Zalmi. The blast took place on a weekly holiday in the country, and a sizable crowd was gathered to watch the match. No group has yet taken responsibility for the attack.
These attacks on gurudwaras, killing innocent people who are worshipping, stadiums, are digressive and are the result of various splinter groups that exist in the country. Taliban earlier was involved in these kind of terrorist attacks. Once it came into power, it has a major problem in fighting with the other groups like the ISKP or the Khorasan, or for that matter the Al-Qaeda. We have seen that Ayman al-Zawahiri was killed recently, who was the head of the Al-Qaeda globally. And so there are some actions here and there taking place. But some misguided people actually feel that playing cricket is anti-Islam. What nonsense, utter rubbish. So we have these kind of people, they try to create a dissonance in the society, a regressive culture in the society, which will take back Afghanistan.
This is not the first time a cricket stadium has witnessed an explosion. There have been other instances of violence directed at cricket. In Afghanistan's Jalalabad city, on May 18, 2018, 4 explosives were exploded inside a cricket stadium, which killed 8 people and injured several others. In September 2017, 3 people were killed and many were injured in a suicide bombing, which was planted by Islamic State terrorists at a cricket match in Afghan capital Kabul. Though the Taliban group claims to have protected the country since taking power in August last year and largely eliminated the Islamic State's local offshoot, the international officials and analysts believe the risk of resurgence in attacks remains. As the Islamic State terrorists have been targeting the Afghan security forces, religious minorities, including Shia Muslims and Sikhs.
The sudden withdrawal of the United States forces from and the NATO forces from Afghanistan have led to the kind of destabilization that we are witnessing today. There is no doubt about it, because there was no smooth handing over, taking over. This was an agreement that was signed with Taliban, whom the Americans did not trust, or at least they did not believe in what they had signed on. And then subsequently, whatever be the regime there, they have not been recognized, they have not been provided adequate assistance. People of Afghanistan are suffering. And when people go to that extent of desperation, a very large number of them could resort to extremist activities and terrorist activities, and it is quite possible they become imbibed of disgruntled elements against the regimes, against the West, to whom they feel that the whole predicament that they face today is entirely due to them.
On the one hand, Afghanistan is always at risk from terrorism, while on the other, the Taliban's tight limitations have grabbed the nation. The hardliners deprived millions of Afghan women of their right to education, ousted tens of thousands of women from jobs, and banned women's businesses and all sorts of activism. They have trampled on Afghan women today and forced them back into the dark ages. More than 90% of Afghans have been experiencing a food shortage, thus the misery in Afghanistan extends beyond just the women. The Afghan people desired peace and an end to the wars in order to better their lot, but not at the expense of losing the accomplishments of the previous 20 years. Afghanistan's seemingly endless war appears to be far from over.